It's time for To the Max Sports, where we talk about sports. They're just two guys, Max and Drew, in a bar talking all things sports. Well, without the bar. And the beer. Wait, why aren't we in the bar?
Hello, and welcome to the Max Sports. Y'all know what time it is. It's time for To the Max Sports.
Something like that.
My voice is superseding. I'm going in fast and slow motion on the video screen.
Yeah, you're going to be behind on the video screen.
And that's
always
okay.
always a little bit of a delay.
Nothing changes. You can't change this mug.
Something like that.
So, Bob, I want you to close your eyes. It's sweet summer of 1982. You're a kid. And what kid in their teens, early teens, young man didn't want to hear this on a Saturday afternoon? This week in baseball with the great Mel Allen.
Mel Allen, what an iconic voice.
You know, before This Week in Baseball, that was ESPN. You couldn't watch baseball. Occasionally you could catch a live game, but you know, that's where you caught up on all your baseball highlights for the week.
Oh yeah, and I mean I remember growing up and reading the paper for the box scores.
Mm-hmm.
Actually looking at box scores.
Yeah, going over the stats. My mom used to get on me so much. You can recite Pete Rose's baseball stats, but you can't do your homework. Well, I enjoy reading Pete Rose's baseball stats more than I like doing homework.
Well, Ma, priorities, Ma, priorities.
That's right. Well, you know, we started a segment called, I think we did it a couple weeks ago, and it was mostly, the fans, the baseball fans, This Week in Baseballs. Well, it's trickled down to the field now. Do you have a clip of
this is crazy. I'll pull this up.
Ramirez and Anderson squaring off.
And another hustle double. Right over the bag at first. Now Hosey and Anderson square off. They're fighting. They're swinging. Down goes Anderson. Down goes Anderson.
Observations. I mean, you know, I shouldn't be laughing, but baseball brawls are part of baseball. It happens. But a couple things that stood out. One, the announcer, you know, catching down goes Anderson, you know, channeling, you know, an Ali Frazier fight, which was awesome. So if you're a young kid, that's what said during the Ali Frazier fight, down goes Frazier.
Yeah, so and this is, they were squaring off like boxers in a ring.
Oh, yeah, I mean, and what I love is the ump, he's channeling the late, great Richard Steele, who was a he was a boxing ref.
Yeah.
And he kind of just split out and was like, go at it, boys.
Well, it's kind of like what I was always told about dogs. If you come upon two dogs fighting, don't get in the middle. Don't get in the middle. And especially when they square off like this. I mean, this was serious. And that haymaker that Ramirez threw that knocked Anderson down that was a wild punch. That wasn't a planned punch. That hit him just weird.
But it hit the target. He got 6 games, Anderson, and got knocked down. The other guy got 3.
Yep.
But
nope, don't fight.
Don't fight.
Don't fight.
And you know, going back old school, you know, I used to love the Lou Pinellas, you know, my Reds manager, Lou Pinella.
Mm-hmm.
Going out there throwing baseball mounds around, and then we had Earl Weaver turning his cap around and
kicking dirt on the
dirt, and so we had
Aaron Boone this week was going crazy, mocking the home plate umpire for his balls and strikes calls.
Maybe he was channeling Pinella, I believe.
I don't know what he was chanting, but he was pissed.
Yeah, that was entertaining. And I had said a while back, you know, now that they got the replay, you're not going to see as much of the umpire antics, which were always a great part of baseball.
Yeah, it was a great part, but the umpire should never, the umpire should never want to draw attention to themselves. Have you ever officiated any type of organized sport?
No, thank God. I've heard it's horrible.
I have. It's not that bad, but you don't want to be the center of attention. If you're the center of attention, something has gone wrong.
You know, Major League Baseball addressed that, I think, about 10 years ago, when the umps were really getting out of control, and they were, and I think that got addressed. They seem to have toned it down a little bit, but, you know, I guess if a manager yells at you, you have the right to yell back at him. It's all part of the baseball tradition.
It's fair enough. I think a lot of the home plate umpire antics go away with the robo balls and strikes, and we'll get there in a couple years.
We're getting there. I mean, we're there in the minor leagues. We've talked about it. But it will take away some of the fun, some of the antics.
I think it'll speed up the game. I mean, it's more for me, it's more pace of play.
Well,
more pace of play.
Little secret, no fighting during the game will speed up the pace of play, too.
Well, yeah.
I mean, you know, hell, I went to a boxing match and the daggone baseball game's breaking out.
Yeah, it's just hot-blooded young men just getting into it. I didn't even see what provoked this, so anyway.
Speaking of some hot-blooded pennant races, man, I'll tell you what, there's some good ones out there.
It's starting to heat up a little bit.
All of a sudden, the National League, you know, my Reds have fallen back. The Cubs are surging. The Brewers have a slim lead. The Marlins are a game or two back. So there's a lot of wild card.
Braves are playing well.
Well, the Braves, they're runaway. I mean,
but
they've locked up their division.
If I was putting money down, and we're going to get to some other money in a second, but if I was putting money down, I'm going to put my money on the Rangers and the Astros and give you the rest of the field. I think it's the Rangers or the Astros, and I know they're both in the American, so only one of them. Same division. Only one of them is going to advance, but
we'll make the wild card.
It's going to be one of those in the World Series, and it's going to be one of those winning the World Series. Now, I give the edge to the Astros.
You think they both make the playoffs?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's kind of like the L.A. Dodgers and San Francisco a year or two ago.
I mean, they basically pilfered the Mets pitching staff.
Yeah.
Verlander came out and pitched good. Scherzer's now come out and pitched good after he had a little bit of a bad inning. So, hey, Rangers and Astros.
I mean, both teams made significant veteran improvements by picking up two veteran, I dare say, both of them Hall of Famers.
Yeah, and it was, I mean, for the Astros and the Astros ownership, it was almost like this was a contract restructuring for Verlander because they didn't want to pay him his contract. They ship him to the Mets for a little bit, and the Mets are paying a pretty good percentage of his contract and sending him back to the Astros.
You know, he walked in the clubhouse and did his best, you know, how you like me now?
Yeah, well, his best Kirk Cousins.
Yeah. The other divisions, I mean, you got L.A., but baseball, it's
heating up.
Fun right now.
It's heating up.
It's fun right now.
Give me a couple more weeks and then I'll get excited.
Well, what else is heating up is, you know, we talked about a couple weeks ago, and it's a problem. It's just not going to go away. It's like cocaine in sports in the 80s. Houston, we got a problem, and I don't know if it's going to go away anytime soon. And that's the wagering on sports at every level, at every game, from golf to now I'm reading in college football, there's players under investigation.
It is going to go away when the players understand every time you do this and go against the rules, you are going to get caught. Every time. This is not the old days of the mafia running the book and it was Guido down there maybe giving you a talking to. No, these are Harvard, Yale, MIT statisticians and economists looking at the data. They're going to find you out because your betting patterns and how you bet is going to be different than the average gambler. It's going to stick out and you're going to get caught.
Yeah. If it's a large sum of money, though, the sports books will actually take the game off until they'll see irregularities in betting and drop the game. I guess in some ways, if you're Joe wide receiver for, say, Illinois, is it easier to have your buddy place a small $5,000 bet with FanDuel nowadays, take the money and run, than it was you're getting tied up with a mafia don who's saying, you're going to throw this game. We got 100,000 on it. We're going to give you 10,000 of that. So I think in some ways it's actually become easier to hide the money if you're just the small marginal athlete.
Yeah, but it's
food on the table.
Yeah, it's easier to hide that money, but I'm telling you, each of those books is concerned about two things. One, the integrity of the bets, because they don't want to tick off their gamblers, but that's been true years and years and years and years ago. But it's the integrity with their clients, meaning Major League Baseball, meaning the college football conferences, the NCAA.
Yeah.
If those books are being allowed to legally take bets on those, then those organizations have an agreement with them that you're going to watch for stuff. You're going to watch our players. You're going to watch our coaches, and you're going to tell us. Those agreements are in place. You're not going to get away with it.
A lot of those, I've been reading, a lot of those college agreements have been discarded because of the optics. So there's not a lot of these agreements where you got Louisiana Tech in agreement with Harris Casino. I was just reading that a couple of days ago because the optics were just so bad. You know?
But you filter up to the NCAA, you filter up to the conference, maybe not the individual universities. But if you are a college football athlete or a college basketball athlete and you're betting on your own sport, you are going to get caught.
So do you do a draconian measure where it's at any level you're banned for life? Do we have to have some sacrificial lambs to let them know, hey, we're serious about this?
No,
because if
you can't speak out of both sides of your mouth. I mean, if you're the leagues, if you're the conferences, you can't speak out of one side of your mouth and go, we're gonna support it, and then to the players, when you run afoul of our rules, we're going to ban you for life. There needs to be a graduated scale of discipline. There needs to be.
Okay.
Couple 4 games for a first violation, a season for a second violation, and maybe this needs to be the NCAA, where the NCAA says your eligibility is out. You have no more eligibility.
And the colleges, I actually think, should establish maybe some kind of on-campus GA program that people can attend to, because it's not just the college kids playing the game. You know, a lot of college kids' lives are being ruined by betting on these games.
Yeah, we just made it a lot easier talking about lives being ruined about betting.
Well, I don't know if his lives been ruined, but talk about someone who's got the money to lose. I thought Barkley lost a lot of money.
Well, hold on. He didn't lose $1 billion.
Well,
He bet and put $1 billion at risk over a decade.
Well, if you put $1 billion at risk, coming from a guy who at one time used to play small wagers, guaranteed he probably, with the juice you lose,
probably 200 to 300 million. You think
that may even be conservative? If he literally was put down $1 billion worth of bets, he must have a lot of money. A lot of money.
I looked it up earlier today. By estimates, $800 million ish in endorsement earnings over his career. Another $100 million earnings on the tour. And then he has his $215 or $220 million he got from the Saudis. He can afford $300 million in debt. And what was the rumor that he took the contract with Callaway because Callaway wiped away his Vegas debt?
They possibly did. But it's just amazing to me, a guy with, making that kind of money. I guess the bigger the payday, the bigger the bet. I don't know.
Yeah, and I have no problem with him betting. The problem I have in the story about him is he called up a guy.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, according to the guy he called up.
We don't want to get sued here on our little podcast.
Allegedly, according to the guy he called up on the phone, while he was playing the Ryder Cup, wanted to put 400 large on the American team to win the Ryder Cup while he was playing the Ryder Cup.
Yeah, that's great. That's almost as bad as calling up a Kazakhstan oligarch and having them wire you $142,000 for a red Porsche.
You don't bet on your own sport. And I don't even know what the rule is in the PGA. But I got to imagine there's a rule in the PGA, and the Ryder Cup is under the auspices of the PGA.
Yeah.
They can't do anything to him now, but
it's bad optics.
Bad optics.
But I guess he's got the money to do it.
He does, and he's continuing to bet. Apparently, on the Live Golf Tour in the last couple of weeks, there's some sound bites of him talking to another player on one of the tees about the action he wanted to put down on their round while he's playing a Live Golf Tour event.
Yeah, that to me that's a whole new level of degeneracy when you're actually betting on your own sport when there's just so many other things you can do, and then especially, when you're betting on a sport that you're participating in.
Well, and then to sit on the tee box at a tour event, at a Live Golf Tour event, and okay, fine if it's like, hey man, a buck a hole. Let's just have a little skin in the game. A buck a hole. No, he was on like a grand a hole. This isn't like nothing money other than you're a Live Golf Tour and you have a lot of money from the Saudis. So That was just crazy, Phil. If you want to get some help on gambling, if you're listening to the show, give me a call. I'll help you out, man, for a little bit of juice.
We'd be glad to have him sit up here. We'll let everybody know you're on the show, Phil.
Yep.
And if you're watching, hit that like and subscribe button.
Yep.
What else is going on?
College football collapse. All the conferences are going away.
Oh, wow.
It's the
Pac-12.
The Pac-12 is done.
Decimated.
Done. It's not decimated. Don't use that word.
Well, it's for all intents and purposes.
Well, no, because decimated only means 1/10 is done.
And what's ironic is I believe that, that's a good point. I believe that a lot of the Pac-12 are going to be ranked in the top 20 going into this year.
There's 5 teams in the Pac-12 that are ranked in the preseason top 25.
Yeah.
Which is crazy, I have never had a high opinion of the Pac-12. I don't think it's a competitive conference. You can throw your Utahs at me. I don't think it's a competitive conference. Possibly USC, maybe.
Tradition, back in the day, but you got to go way back.
And I think they've turned that program around. But
they're trying.
But the conference has been horrible. Their media rights deal was crap.
Yeah.
Their revenue share with their schools was 60 or 70% of what it was to the other conferences. And you're surprised that people are going? You were negotiating with Apple TV for a streaming deal, and it was just, of course they're going to leave you.
Yeah, it was a shit show.
But here's my problem. You've now left Cal and Stanford behind. What do Cal and Stanford do? And I think Stanford has a possible option, which has Heather Dinich on ESPN talked about this. Stanford could potentially say, we're done with sports. We're done with sports. Because football and that revenue share we got, even our paltry revenue share from the Pac-12, paid for a lot of other sports.
But that's not going to happen.
Well, I don't know. Does Stanford dip into their endowment to keep their other sports going? Because here's the thing about Stanford. Do you know where a lot of our Olympic athletes come from? Stanford.
Well, their donor base is huge. And, they got tradition in sports, especially with tennis, their football programs. Of course, Elway was from Stanford, I believe.
Yeah, I get it, but that could be a possible result of this.
They may be absorbed back into the Big Ten. The Big Ten has some higher credentialing than some of these other conferences.
I get that, but it's these conference commissioners talk about talking out of both sides of your mouth or just totally lying to us and being hypocrites.
Yeah.
You talk about the student athlete. You talk about wanting to take care of the student athlete. And I'm going to leave aside basketball and football as a revenue generating sports. And I'm going to say, okay, fine, USC, UCLA, you're now part of a conference that includes Rutgers, which means you got to travel across the country. And if you're a football player at UCLA, you're traveling nice, you're staying in a nice hotel, you're being taken care of, you're being fed. What about that volleyball player who's now got to travel to Rutgers? Do you think he's being taken care of or she's being taken care of to the same extent? No, you're screwing the rest of your athletic programs. That's what you're doing. You don't care about the athletes. Jay Billis, this week I heard him in an interview, college conferences are there for one reason, to collude and make sure we don't pay the athletes. That's what they're there for.
That's been there since time immemorial.
So
but now,
get rid of them all.
But now with the new the IHO or NIL, I mean, the college athletes able to fight back, and obviously it's going to be your premier athletes that are going to take advantage of that. But it's just everything's money now. Everything is about the almighty dollar. I'm actually surprised. If you had asked me a year ago, I would have said the Big 12 would have gotten broken up and absorbed into the Pac-10 before the Pac-10.
Yeah, it looked like, I mean, to use a boxing analogy, it looks like the Big 12 took something on the chin. They regrouped and came back at it large.
Now, for me being a Big Ten fan, it's nirvana for me, because I'm going to watch Big Ten football from 11 in the morning to 11 at night, coast to coast, 2 or 3 televised Big Ten games. And that's awesome.
But would you give that up? Here's my solution. I talked about this with a friend of mine. Get rid of all
friend?
I have 2. Get rid of all the conferences.
More than I get.
Get rid of all the conferences. Chip Kelly talked about this. Get rid of all the conferences, consolidate everything, and run it like a mini NFL.
Yeah.
And be done with it. Be done with the conferences. I don't need conferences. I want to take football and basketball and take them out of the NCAA and let them run separately.
Yeah.
No more Title IX impact from my football players. No more Title IX impact from my basketball players. Let Title IX be for the rest of my sporting programs. Give the NCAA back control. Yep. And let them control what they're good at. They're good at monitoring the eligibility of the stroke guy in a crew on a rowing team. They're not good with the revenue producing athletes.
I mean, I get what you're saying, but I want world peace and little puppies for everybody, and that ain't going to happen.
I just stop lying to me.
But it is a interesting conundrum. Anything else going on, Bob?
Mickelson, baseball, basketball Hall of Fame coming up.
Want to do a little trivia to close it out?
Do a little trivia to close it out.
If you stuck around, you guys should be able to beat us. This is sports rules trivia, which we suck at.
Okay.
If you stuck around this long, please hit like and subscribe. We don't ask for money, but if you want to give me a red Porsche from a Kazakhstan oligarch, Hunter likes blue, I like red.
Oh, please. Please.
Okay. God, I forgot my glasses. I can't read this shit. Can a fielder hold the ball? I can't read this. I forgot my glasses.
Tell you what. I'm going to ask myself a question and cover up the answer.
There you go.
During stroke play, John broke his 8-iron in anger. I think we've had this question before. He finished around with 13 clubs and learned he would be one of 3 players involved in a sudden death playoff. Can he replace his broken 8-iron for the playoff? And I think the answer is yes.
I would say you can. Absolutely.
Yes.
All right.
Apparently, a playoff constitutes a new round. So here's your question.
If I get this right, it's a tie.
Can John place a mat? He's got a very wet teeing ground. He's on the tee. He's very, very wet. He's all squishy. Can he place a mat on the ground and stand on it to tee off?
Oh, hell no. No.
Okay. Why not? What is he doing?
Because it's not part of the natural surface.
He's building a stance.
Building a stance.
There we go. Okay, we're 2 for 2.
We always stick with our stance, guys. We'll be back next week.
Possibly with reading glasses.
Possibly with reading glasses. Maybe not. Not the sharpest tool in the shed. Until next week. OH.
Peace out, gentlemen.
I-O.
And ladies. And Phil Mickelson. Give us a call.